Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And this is probably the biggest week of the Viking season right here after losing to the Lions last week in the most frustrating way possible. That is just a perfect representation of how our season has gone so far. The Vikings still have an opportunity, and I talked about this in my video that I made a couple days ago where I explained the different scenarios where the Vikings could still make the playoffs based off of everything that could happen in the next couple weeks. So it's still very possible how that the Vikings could potentially be in the playoffs. It's also technically possible that the Packers could make it into the playoffs. And the one thing that is almost for sure, technically, I think that there could be a way that either of these teams go 8-9 and make the playoffs, but it's almost 100% that if whoever loses this game is out of the playoffs. It's pretty much set in stone at this point. The Vikings and Packers fighting here in Week 17 to try to stay alive in the playoff picture. And so going into this game, the Vikings are 1-point favorites, and the 1-point favorite is based off the fact that they're at home. Other than that, this is a pretty even matchup as the Vikings have so much turmoil going on in terms of injuries and quarterback questions, and the Packers have turmoil within their own organization with one of their top cornerbacks, which we'll talk about. But one of the main things for Vikings fans is that Jaron Hall is officially starting. He was named starter about 12 hours ago from when I'm recording this, which would be about noon on Wednesday or Thursday. And so we are going to be with the quarterback that we had initially started before we ended up going with Dobbs later on in that game. And had Jaron Hall not gotten hurt, who knows if we would have even had Dobbs in at all. And I'm glad we still got Dobbs in because it was a great story while it lasted. But Dobbs was not working out. Mullins was not working out. And so why not go with Jaron Hall in this situation to see what he can do? Worst case scenario, he does as poorly as Mullins did. Because I don't think he can get much worse than the way Mullins played for a team that has aspirations to try and make the playoffs. So I think we made a good decision in finally making the decision to start him. I do think that starting Mullins last game was the right decision, but now that he played the way he did and that interception sealed it for us against the Lions, you have to try things out with Jaron Hall to see how it goes. Going into the history between the Vikings and Packers here, it's a pretty long one. The Packers are currently leading the series 65-58-3. So this will be the 127th time that we're playing them. And the Vikings are 31-30 at home, so hopefully we can tick that up rather than having it be tied. And then the last time we played, unfortunately, we all know what happened. Kirk tore his Achilles in week 7 and is out for the season. So obviously, of course, we have to have even more bad memories associated with the Green Bay Packers. But to be fair, when Anthony Barr tackled Aaron Rodgers, he was out for the season. I'm sure that gave Packers fans an even worse memory of Vikings fans and playing the Vikings as well. So it's kind of a give and take, I guess. But we all know the history with the Packers. As Vikings fans, we hate Packers more than pretty much anything. And hoping that we can beat the brakes off the Packers, although it's most likely going to be a pretty close game, seeing how both of these two teams their seasons have gone so far. Going into the injuries/inactives list, Jair Alexander was benched because he's stupid. The Packers almost gave up possession for both of the halves because he went out there and pretended to be the captain, which is just dumb and stupid. And I couldn't even believe my ears when I heard that story initially. And so Jair Alexander, maybe he was hoping he could get suspended so that he didn't have to play Justin Jefferson again. So now all the Packers fans can't go and talk about how Jair Alexander is Justin Jefferson's dad, even though safety help is really the only reason he's ever been successful against JJ. All the other times that he hasn't gotten safety help, he's gotten cooked by JJ, but no one wants to talk about that. So yeah, we're not going to go up against Jair Alexander, and so that's going to be a major factor for the Vikings. Elton Jenkins, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, Darnell Savage, Quay Walker, all those guys are questionable for the Packers. For the Vikings, the major names, Jordan Addison, Byron Murphy, Mekhi Blackman, all those guys are questionable. And then, of course, we got TJ Hawkinson and DJ Wanham that both suffered season-ending injuries last week. It's just a really rough situation because, DJ Wanham is going to be a free agent next season, and so that's going to really complicate things for him personally. And then for TJ Hawkinson, not only is it going to affect the rest of this season, but most likely he's going to be out of pocket for a good part of next season as well. So it's just a really rough situation. But Jordan Addison, Murphy, and Blackman are all the guys that we're still waiting on. If we can get JJ and Jordan Addison playing on the same field with the kind of secondary the Packers have right now, especially without Jair Alexander in, we're just licking our chops offensively, and we're giving Jaron Hall a very good situation out of the gate if that's the case. Going into the keys to the game here, the very first key to the game is the same key to the game that we had when the last time we played the Packers, which is get Jordan Love uncomfortable. When Jordan Love is uncomfortable, when he's not perfectly, in his little pocket, able to throw dimes, he gets flustered and he makes a lot of mistakes, and that's where we can get our interceptions and win the turnover battle. As always, the turnover battle will most likely win or lose the game for us, and that's what happened when we played the Lions. We were one turnover, that one turnover was the difference in that game. And so if we can win the turnover battle against the Packers, I'm almost positive we can find a way to win this one. And a big part of that is potentially getting Jordan Love to throw us a couple meatballs throughout the course of the game. Second key to the game is Justin Jefferson versus who? I mean, seriously, you look at the Green Bay Packers depth chart, and you've got Jair Alexander suspended. We got Keeson Nixon, Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine. I mean, obviously, we still have Darnell Savage potentially, if as long as he plays. Still have Jonathan Owens. I mean, Quay Walker still definitely a threat, but I mean, these cornerbacks and this secondary in general does not scare me, especially with JJ. And if Jordan Addison also plays, I mean, this could be seriously deadly. Jaron Hall obviously still needs to play well in order for all this to work out, but we're putting him in a very good situation. And that brings me to Jaron Hall, the third key to the game. The offensive line needs to keep Jaron Hall comfortable. Starting at home for Jaron Hall, getting to have that, obviously it is the Packers, so there's going to be plenty of Packers fans. I know my own boss at work is going to be there as a Packers fan, so there's a lot of away noise as well, but it's not nearly as much as if you were going to an away stadium. So trying to keep Hall comfortable, it's going to be huge to start with that, to be able to be at US Bank Stadium as your second technically start, but your first full game, hopefully, as long as he doesn't get hurt. So just keeping him comfortable. Offensive line has been much better this season than last season, but I still see situations where quarterbacks are in more trouble than they should be. So very important to keep Jaron Hall comfortable in this game. Second, also another Jaron Hall related thing. This is for Kevin O'Connell. Keep Jaron Hall. I mean, you need to allow him to take risks and make mistakes, especially in the first half of this game. I understand that you're trying to win this. I know it's an important game to win. I understand that you're in a situation where you can potentially make the playoffs and you're afraid of losing this game in an embarrassing way. But guess what? If you don't let Jaron Hall take chances, you are not going to win. I understand our defense is much better than it has been in seasons past, but in order to score any points, you need to be able to allow Jaron Hall to throw deep down the field 20, 30-yard passes, especially when we have Justin Jefferson on our team. I'm sick of, it's obviously a interesting situation for O'Connell to be in. He's used to having Kirk, but I'm so sick of us bringing in another quarterback and O'Connell being so concerned that he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions that he's just like, okay, I guess just toss it out to the outside. At this point, nothing can be worse than Mullen, so just let Jaron Hall cook. Let him do whatever it is that he needs to do in order to figure stuff out. And if he throws interceptions, that's fine. At this point, as Vikings fans, we're used to it. Just don't throw a slant to Madison or Chandler on 3rd and 5. Don't do it. I'm sick of it. Um, can we do anything with the run? Is the second to last key. Last game was the most atrocious rushing attack I've seen from the Vikings in a very long time. And Chandler was misused. The blocking was awful. I mean, there was nothing good about the run game in last week's game, and it's honestly a miracle we only lost by 6 points when the Lions basically knew that we were either going to get stuffed for 1 yard or that we were going to throw, and those are our only two options. So can we get the running game going? Anything, just anything at all. Go with it and keep trying it throughout the course of the first half because we can't just abandon it, even if it's as bad as it was last week. And then finally, if we end up ahead, close out the game. Find a way to do it. And this also ties into the run game, I guess. But if you got yourself a 3rd and 5 and you're at the 45-yard line, go for it and try and win the game. At this point, we have so little to lose. Just see if we can make the playoffs in a way that's flashy because we're most likely going to lose in the playoffs anyway. Let's find a way to win these games in ways that are not heart attack inducing and that we can actually find ways to get first downs in big ways and win games. So anyway, those are my keys to the game. My prediction for this one, I'm going to say the Vikings win 27-23. It's been a frustrating couple weeks for Vikings fans. We are down in the dumps. We're thinking that there's a little to no chance of us making the playoffs, but it's still very much in reach. And regardless if we make the playoffs or not, we always want to beat the Packers. I say we do, especially with Jair Alexander out. What is this Packers secondary going to do against Justin Jefferson? I just don't know what they possibly could do. So that's my prediction. Vikings win by 4 points. It'll probably come down to some last goal line stand to win the game. Just some heart-pounding thing for our New Year's Eve hearts that have already gone through all the holiday season. So let me know in the comments if you agree with my prediction, if there are any keys to the game that you think I missed. There is a lot of facets to this game, and a Vikings-Packers game is always going to be close, except for when we beat the brakes off of them in the Kirk Cousins Achilles week single tier. But again, thanks so much for watching this one. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.